I'm talking today with Greg Bishop. Tell me a little bit about you.
I've been interested in this since I was a kid, and then about 10 years not being interested in it. Then it came back to me in my early 20s. And because of that, I started a magazine with a couple of friends in the 1990s called The Excluded Middle. And we wrote about and published articles about a lot of things we're going to talk about. UFOs and conspiracies and weird science stuff and Wilhelm Reich and psychedelic drugs, all that. And during that time, somebody approached me from the government and said that they wanted to release information through me. So we can talk about that. And then in 2005 in 2000, there was a magazine. I mean, the magazine was collected into a one volume published by David Childress. He was my first publisher, the Adventures Unlimited. And then in 2005, Simon & Schuster published Project Beta, which is which most people know me for, about a guy that was looking at strange things in the sky and assuming what they were, and the intelligence military people that were talking to him and monitoring him didn't mind if he was going off the beam and going crazier and crazier until his family put him in a mental health facility for about a month or two. So he didn't die from all this, and it might have shortened his life. I'm pretty sure it did. And then in the early 2000s, I think it was about 2006 to about 2010, I wrote a blog called UFO Mystic. It was Nick Redfern and I for about 4 years. And those were collected in a book, along with some other things, called It Defies Language, which came out in 2017 or 16. There's been other books and collections and things like that I've been in, but I don't want to go through them all, and I don't even know if I remember them all. I've been interviewing people since 1998. I started on a pirate FM station in Los Angeles until the FCC busted it, in 1999 or 2000. Then I went on an internet station and did more interviewing, and then I kind of broke off from that at about 2006 or 7, started doing the broadcast the recordings at my place, because I'd been setting up for it. And that show's been on hiatus. It's called Radio Mysterioso. It's been on hiatus for about probably almost 3 years, but I'm going to bring it back here pretty soon because I've got a backlog of so many interviews and people that I want to talk to. So that'll come back. And just last week, I coordinated a show of abductee or experiencer art from 10 of my friends from all over the country and the world. And there was a reception, and I spoke. The 5 of the artists who are from Southern California spoke. The rest couldn't travel. Dean Alioto, the director of UFO documentaries, at least that's what he's best known for. He was kind of a speaker and a co-host, and and I had a company called Creepy Kingdom help me put it together and produce it and all that. Anyway, it was a great evening. People that had no idea what was going on seemed to really like it. We sold some art, and Whitley Strieber showed up to support it. So he talked for about 3 minutes. I wanted him to feel like he could just sit in the back and be an audience member, which he was. But then at one point he raised his hand, so I gave him the microphone. He spoke for like 2 or 3 minutes. So that was nice. And that's the latest thing I've been doing. I'm more interested in the art aspect, the visual aspect, and how people remember and what they remember and what that tells us about the phenomenon itself.
And that's the thing. What is this phenomena? And did it come before all the nonsense? Like, in my mind, I see people talking about the phenomena, even back to the 1947s, people talking about all this phenomena, all different types of people, scientists, experiencers, talking about this phenomena. And the other side of it being the controlled, requirements for control, something to control it. And in controlling it, either we're disseminating more information to make it confusing, wrong information to make them look like fools. I mean, all this type of stuff going on. So what started it? Is there a phenomena that's always been? And when did somebody get the bright idea? Oh, let's see if we can control this phenomena in whatever way we can, exploit it. And for what reason, I do not know. It's weaponized. We can easily, humans can easily weaponize anything. We take a tool, we weaponize it. That's what we do. I mean, for better or for worse, it's one of the things that we do. So we're taking this phenomena and we're turning it into X. We don't even know what the phenomena is.
No,
So what's going on there? Or
that's a lot of stuff.
That's the fascination.
Yeah. I think it's been going on since there have been people. I think it's been, if you read any variety of books, especially Passport to Magonia by Vallée, it's been going on for so long and people just see it through their cultural lens. I believe that. And the 20th century, the mid 20th century after World War II, things were going to be framed in a certain way because the United States, which is where we live and we have a myopic view of things because we're here, for whatever reason, either it was reported more or it happened more. There were more sightings of strange things in the sky and landed on the ground. And I mean, if you're in a, I've been saying this for like 20, 30 something years because that's kind of been in my, I've been thinking about it. But if you're in a position of power and there's something that you can't explain to people, it's best not to explain it. Why would you? Because then that would look like you weren't powerful or didn't know what was going on or couldn't explain what was going on. So if it's going to keep happening, and if, I think they did try and figure out what they were, and that was secret, and that's fine, but I don't think they did figure out what it was. I don't think they still haven't figured out what it is. They, meaning people that might tell us the wrong stories or give us disinformation about it. If they couldn't figure it out, I think they've figured out pretty quickly that it's that can be used as an intelligence tool because it can be molded to whatever belief system people have or whatever. And they had there's a ready-made belief system because we had science fiction, as we were talking about earlier before we came on. We had science fiction starting probably in the 19th century with Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. But you know, as it turned into the 20s, 30s, 40s, yeah, the science fiction got more, I don't know about sophisticated, but it looked further outside the Earth. And so we had a model for what we were seeing, which is, you know, something conscious, some being coming from somewhere else. And first it was the moon and, you know, in the 17th, 18th century, and then it was Mars, and then it was the other planets. And as we learn more about the universe, the origin seems to get further and further away. As I said, a reflection of the culture and what people think at the time. Anyway, if you don't understand something and it's still happening, well, you got to figure out some way to react to it and use it. So I think what was decided at some point, you know, over the years was that they would try and explain or not explain or explain away while still being interested in the subject and in the phenomenon. But then sometime, who knows when, after that, after the 1940s, after World War II, after the CIA was formed, probably sometime in the 1950s, 60s, at the latest 70s. At 70s, I think they were pretty well on the way to what they wanted to do with it. But it was decided we don't know what it is. Well, at least we can use it as a tool, because of the nature of it. It's not knowable. So if there's an answer provided, people will gravitate to that answer because where else are answers coming from? So there were civilians saying, "Oh, it's people coming from other planets," and the government would deny it and deny it and deny it. And now, up through the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and up to now, they're not denying it. They're just kind of on board with it, at least publicly.
Mm.
And it's I mean, to sum it up, I've said this before, that UFOs are a Swiss Army knife for intelligence. You can use it for anything, because it's not knowable, at least in the way we normally know things, with evidence or something in front of us or a personal experience, unless you've had one. That's not knowable, unless it's happened to you. But like I said, if it's not knowable, then it's basically, there's no way to prove it. So you can put any belief system on it. And there's a ready-made belief system. It's people coming from other planets or galaxies or whatever, and that may be true. I think it's a great theory. I don't think it's the only one. But if there is that indeterminacy about what it is, then you can use the background of the people, the culture that, the meaning the culture assigns to it, as a tool, to either direct away or towards something. Let's pay attention. Everybody pay attention to this, because this, we've got a video, we've got whatever it is, and nobody's really questioning, the indeterminacy. The videos show something. All these things that have been released, they show something strange, which is fine. But nobody that has released these things says there's people coming from other planets and this is what it is. That's all implied, because that's what people are going to believe. And if that's what they want to believe, it can be used for I don't know what it's being used for right now. I think there are people that are within the government and the intelligence services and all that have a actual true curiosity about this, just like you and I do. And I think they have a better information source if they have the clearances to get it. But I think if they see these information sources, they're just as confused as we are. Maybe a little more detailed, like maybe a little different theorizing about what they might be, or if things are mechanical, and if they are like a machine, how do they work? All that stuff, because that's how military mind works. Is it a threat or is it not? Can it be exploited or can it not? And if you're, I'm sorry, there was noise here for a second. And if you have some operation that you can be directing people away or towards it in a certain way, you can utilize that because of this non-deterministic nature of what it is, and the idea that people have made it into something that they think what they think. And if you utilize that story, that legend, that myth along those lines, you can direct people's attention to anything or away from. It's also a very emotional subject. I noticed that people, I said this when I was during the arts thing a couple of weeks ago. I can talk to somebody, or anybody can talk to somebody at a UFO conference about the subject, and in 5 minutes you pretty much know what their political system is, what their belief system is, all that other stuff. And that can be exploited. Also, it's a very emotional subject. I've noticed online that sometimes people will ask a question, what's your favorite case, or who do you think is trustworthy, or what makes you angry, or what makes you happy? It's like, why are you answering these questions? It's somebody that you don't know, and they're asking you your opinion and what you react to emotionally, what makes you excited. Well, that's information that can be used. Okay, we've got 80% of the people here, or 20% that believe X about it, and then we've got 80% that believe Y about it. Well, then we'll use Y because that's the thing that most people respond to, right, for whatever reason. And no, I don't know why this is being done now at this point. Probably because of the global situation, and probably trying to get a leg up or prevent a war or whatever. And for some reason, but I think the subject's being used for that. I don't mean that it's all BS, but I do think that anything coming from the government or the authorities is, at least in this country, is biased. It's there for a reason. It's not there
It's
because
strategic.
anybody wants you to know anything. They want to direct attention or make somebody, a
At
segment of
least
the
they
society
think
excited. Yeah.
they think it's strategic. It may not play out strategic. It may play out to a mess of spaghetti, but at some point in time, somebody thinks, oh, this is strategic. We're going to do this. And this is how we're going to do it. And,
Well, they did it in a big way, and I think it's metastasized. That's the word I use since 2017, because there's all this attention paid to it that maybe wasn't planned, and which is fine. I mean, I'm glad because it's gotten academics involved. It's gotten people that normally wouldn't care about it involved. And that's great. It just means there's more minds on it that were embarrassed or scared or whatever to do so before, and now they aren't. I mean, I'm involved with some of those people. I think it's great.
when I heard Jacques Vallée mention the control structure, the control system, I thought of one thing, but I'm beginning to think of it in a different way. But certainly I think more along the lines of what Vallée meant. Because I think that control structure is not this, not something somebody's placing. The framework is not being externally placed on us. It's this human control structure, what humans do, how humans think, how humans filter the world, what we do. And this is the phenomenon is all a function of that control structure, how we catalog the world. Because the dawn of humankind, one of the first things we did was we created a hierarchy of them, other, and us. So you could call it gods. I don't care what you call it. Immediately there's that and there's us. And that, we don't know what that is. And we're going to spend the next 60,000 years cataloging it. And as our words change, that has so many different words. So today, you can find people talking about nuts and bolts, where they're talking about, I saw a triangle and it blocked out the sky and it's black and I couldn't hear and I felt people downloading it. I mean, they'll go into all this conversation about nuts and bolts, something they feel they could touch. And then other people will go into the spiritual. Oh, spiritually, I feel that, humankind is evolving to the next level where we can, have telepathic conversation. People, and the thing is, you'll listen to these conversations with people, and they believe it wholeheartedly, one camp or the other, or all three, or anywhere in between. It is amazing that all of this phenomena, the nuts and bolts, and this spiritual experience, is all part of the same phenomena. Where what we used to call ghosts are now being, those plasmoid things, those are not ghosts, those are, now we're going into quantum physics trying to explain ghosts. Which is what happened when we went from UFO to UAP, which again, possibly a strategy to get it from flying objects to get it to anomalous phenomena.
Yeah.
So we took the nuts and bolts and we created this extra movement. Scene 3, bring in the people who feel that they've been contacted through telepathy to do things. Obviously, we've also got all the zeitgeist. So any amount of guilt is also getting interpreted. So atomic bombs, all of these things. We've got atomic situation where, oh, we shouldn't be playing with atomics. And now climate change. Oh, we're very bad custodians of the planet. We're going to, destroy the planet. And I'm not saying this is true or false. I'm not trying to make statements here. I'm merely saying every single time you take a look at what's being translated into this phenomena, you get something specific for the culture. Today's culture. We're turning the technology into nuts and bolts. It used to be the gods. Or the demons, or the gods and the demons. Before that, it used to be, a relationship with the earth, the shamanistic experience with the earth. It used, it just keeps getting retranslated, and we still don't know what it is.
Well, I think the societies you talked about probably did know what it was, or at least accepted it into their worldview. So it wasn't some outlier. It wasn't something anomalous. It was things that people experienced, so they just accepted it into their experience. I mean, I there's a great TV show, Reservation Dogs, and it takes place on a Native American reservation in Oklahoma. And during one of the episodes had to do with Bigfoot. So this kid goes out in the woods to hunt with his father, and they see what we know as a Bigfoot. And the kid's scared and says, "Oh my God!" And he freaks out. And the father's just basically, his attitude was, "It's another living thing that shares a planet with us, but we don't quite know what it is. But it's always been there. We know about it. It leaves us alone. We leave it alone. That's fine. I mean, it's just another thing that exists." And you realize that the kid has been watching too many movies and TV shows and that about being scared of Bigfoot. That's what he is. He's trained to be scared of it. And his father is just like, "No, it's something that just shares a planet with us. Don't worry about it. It generally doesn't care what we do." And we shouldn't care what it does, but we honor it and we say it's another living thing that's conscious and all that. But it's like a tribe that never talks to us, which is fine. So, I mean, I really like that attitude about it, and the fact that, and in my talk, I talked about other cultures dealing with it or showing things that weren't human, and how some of them assign them as demons. Some of them assign them as deities, which are good or bad, either. But always there was a reaction to this unknown thing from whatever the culture is and whatever their belief system is. And so I think it is, like you said, it's a total reflection of whoever sees it. And individually, it's a reflection too, because almost nobody ever has the exact same experience. And I tell this story too. I used to have people come up to me at conferences, you're signing books or whatever, and they say, "What, can I tell you something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And they proceed to tell me whatever happened to them. And sometimes they'd want, "What do you think that was?" But over half the time, the people would just say, "Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you for listening." And they'd walk away. They just wanted somebody to talk to that wasn't going to judge or laugh or whatever. And then more than once, I saw people that had talked to me and told me completely different things. And they'd go off to the side, they'd be talking, and they'd get excited and happy, and like they'd be immediate friends because they knew something had happened to that person too. And it even had nothing to do with what they saw, but they knew it was the same thing, or at least in the same category of strangeness. And so, that, and Whitley said this one time, Whitley Strieber said this in a book or in an interview, that whatever it is going to, I mean, I don't know if I take this literally. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. That whatever it is going to reveal itself to us in the most democratic way possible, from the bottom up, not from the top down. So I think either that's going on, or somebody's trying to fight it because they don't want it coming from the bottom up because that messes up our our hierarchy. Who knows? But just the thought that something could be explained other than what the government tells us is probably makes some people nervous, people that want us to believe a certain thing. And the other thing I say, and I said this at the MUFON conference when somebody said, when are people going to take this seriously? When can I turn to my friend that always says you're full of crap and you're crazy and say, see? And my answer, there were a couple, I was on a panel, one of people gave various answers, and mine was, well, why is that important to you? And there was this kind of like, what? Well, they thought I was insulting them. Like, no, if you want other people to believe what you believe, then you're not curious about something. Then you're not doing research. You're involved in a belief system that other people have to believe in. And if that's your goal, I don't think you're going to find out anything. The best thing you could possibly do is to continue your own research, wherever it may go. And in that way, you will learn things, and you won't care whether other people believe you or not. I mean, you might care if they are interested in your research, but you'll find answers for yourself. And I think that's more important than having somebody to one of your relatives say you were right all along. I mean, that's a, I don't know what you would call it. If your ego is in the middle of this belief system, then you're only going to see a certain thing. And that's true for everything, but I think especially for something like this.
Well, when we turn it into somewhat of a tribe or a religion or something like that, where we all believe this is what we believe. And, that makes some people very comfortable because now they're in a group of people that understand them, that they can speak, they feel comfortable, they share, they laugh, they've got likes, the same likes and dislikes. I understand all these things. And this is the control system that I believe Vallée is talking about. And this is why we keep creating these things, because these things are fairly natural to us. The fact that the phenomenon is out there and that we keep reacting to it in all these different ways, that's the question mark. Not so much how should we react, should being the proper way. This is the problem. This is the problem. Because we cannot necessarily agree, nor can we agree to disagree comfortably. So we've got people out there that say, no, there's a ship coming and you're going to find out sooner or later, you sons of bitches. Or, my heart goes out when I hear abduction stories.
Yeah.
Because these people believe them, and I don't know what to believe. I really don't know. Part of me says I don't want to believe in them one way or the other because it could happen to me, and if it's really that horrific, I don't want it to happen. So please don't visit me. Thank you very much. And no, I don't necessarily believe in abductions. However, I've had dreams that are odd, very odd dreams. I wake up and think, I'll never forget that one. And I never have. Lucid dreams, very peculiar dreams that translate to my worldview. So perhaps I've been abducted, but, in my worldview of abduction as opposed to someone else's. Now, trauma does odd things to people.
Yeah.
And we all on this planet experience trauma. Every single one of us. It's just we translate it differently. Some people flip out. Some people like, oh, that was bad. Pass the salt, please. And everything in between. And everything in between. So we've got all of these challenges in life that we are reacting to, and some of them are very peculiar phenomena. We're going to continue to call it phenomena. We're reacting to it. As we react to it, we create lots of scenarios, the abduction scenario being one of them. And I listen or I read about these experiences and I think to myself, first of all, I say to myself, do we include all of the stories of the gods that came down and abducted women and had illegitimate children. Do we include those stories? Because that sounds to me like a way of relating the same odd phenomena with something that actually does happen, but in a different setting, a different time. In other words, today you're not going to get one city coming to take over another city, kill everybody, rape the women, and have children and start a whole new city. That's not going to happen. And, it doesn't normally happen. And translating that trauma into this narrative that talks about, well, the god came and as a swan, I mean, like, really? You're going to tell me this story? What? It sounds to me pretty, it's a terrible story, but you're making it better. That story, as opposed to, I woke up and I was floating through the window into, what kind of a story is that? And the abduction story, some people will say, oh, abductions aren't happening anymore. And so we're in a different phase of this relationship with the other. Abductions aren't happening as much as they used to. It really was a 50s to a, 2000? Like, it ramped up and, like, really hit the ceiling. Everybody's getting abducted.
I think there's an awareness of it. And everything, the news cycle now has pushed it out. There's still people getting abducted. There must be. I did this art exhibit, and there were people there they said the thing was happening to them right now, occasionally, and still going on. It's just that nobody pays any attention to it because the big shiny thing is being held up in front of them. And you've said a lot of things there, but one thing I thought of about, what is the answer? Where is the answer? What's going on? We need to know what's going on. Right now I'm for the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, I've been taking Japanese archery, and one of the instructions I remember is, if you hit the target, you should have the exact same reaction as when you don't hit it. The point is not hitting the target. The point is how you set up to do it, what your technique is like. And I sort of like port that over it into this UFO belief thing. I neither believe nor disbelieve, and I don't care whether I believe or disbelieve, but the act of researching something that is there is more important to me than figuring out what the answer is. Because in the act of just doing the research and whatever you do for yourself, you'll come up with your own answer. And if you're not dogmatic about it, even if you don't, who cares? If you're not dogmatic about it, you will learn more. And maybe you'll come to some sort of conclusion about what you think it is. But don't ever go telling other people what you think it is what it is, because it's not. It's so individual. Like I said with Whitley, I mean, it's going to come from the bottom up. I mean, it's already started that way. That's how it began. It's just from the top down. It's trying to control what we think about it, or how we think about it, or direct us towards or away from something for who knows what reason. A friend of mine that's a UFO researcher said, every time the government decides to announce something about UFOs, it's not for UFO researchers. It's not. It has nothing to do with them. It's for whatever strategic or intelligence advantage or reason that they could have. And just the fact that the UFO thing is connected to it is just a way to draw people's attention towards something or away from something else. And also find out what the chatter is. What are people talking about? Which is very easy to do now. It wasn't easy in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Now it's really easy to find out what people think and what they're doing. So that's why I listen less to somebody who is either an authority, unless they're a friend of mine, or in the government, because that may not apply to my understanding of it. So I'll take something in if it's useful to me, and I'll kind of ignore or put it on the back burner if it's not, or at least not at that moment. So, but the point is to stay interested and to stay focused on something that you want to do with it, which is why I'm focused on this art thing, because that's the only thing I have training in art history. So that's how I'm approaching it. Doesn't mean I'm right, but it keeps me interested. And also, you know, the people that make these that draw their experiences or something related to them, they're doing their own therapy, and also they're providing us a look into something that we normally wouldn't understand if they said it to us in words. And you said something about trauma, and trauma definitely affects how you remember things. And that's all it is. A UFO experience, or any experience really, is a memory. It's not the thing itself. If I was sitting there with you during whatever happened, I don't know if I would have seen the same thing, and I have to accept that. I probably wouldn't have seen the same thing. And it's funny, the closer it gets, the more people disagree about what something is. If it's far away and flying, it's like, yeah, we saw these lights and they did this. Even see people sometimes disagree on that. But if there's some kind of close encounter, people seem to be less in agreement about exactly what happened, it seems. And that just, to me, shows how individualistic this phenomenon is in the way people see it and experience it. And like I said, it's a remembrance of it. When people tell you their UFO experience, they're not telling you what happened. They're telling you their memory of what happened, which is quite different. And it doesn't mean it's inaccurate. It just means it's their memory. And that's fine, because I think what most, you know, materialistic, mechanistic people would think is something's either right or not. If the information's either true or not, you have to stop with that. You have to start considering, you know, how did it make somebody feel? What these questions should be asked of people when investigators go out. How did it make you feel? How do you feel now? Has it changed your life? And one thing that my friend, my late friend Earl Gray Anderson, MUFON investigator, used to ask at the end of the entire thing, he'd ask the questions he was supposed to ask, according to the manual or whatever. But then he'd ask probably the most important question of all. Is there anything else you want to tell me that you might be hesitant to tell me? Anything that you think is related to this, because I will not judge. I think it might be helpful. And also, you know, without saying it, it might be helpful to the person, because it means they can talk. And he said people would say the weirdest stuff. Like, you know, I saw a talking dog like 5 minutes before, or my dead grandmother called me, you know, 2 days later, or, you know, I seem to be able to heal a lot quicker now, you know, when I have injuries, or I can heal other people by thinking about it. I don't know why that, just stuff like that. And it got to the point where he said, if I don't hear something that doesn't make sense in an account, I start to doubt it more. The more it holds together logically, the less I think the less I am interested in the case, which I think is incredible. I mean, these outliers, the stuff that people don't want to pay attention to, I think they're probably a big part of this, and that points us to a true weird experience. And I don't know why they're there.
Was it McKenna who said that it's going to get a lot weirder? Was it him?
Probably.
Somebody, because it just keeps getting weirder. And I don't mind it. It's just getting weirder.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's getting weirder because more people are paying attention to it. So a lot of strange stuff is coming out. I'm seeing things from people in Congress, and they're saying, oh my God, there's crash saucers. Oh my God, there's a hybrid breeding program. Oh my God, they're demons or angels. Oh my God, you know, all this stuff. And I heard it all. I've heard it all for the last 30 or 40 something years. The same stories at UFO conferences. Now it's being talked about in Congress. Does that mean it's because it's real and there's a reality behind it, what they're saying? I don't know. But what I do know is that the exact same reactions are happening from people you would think, like, these are people in Congress, like, you know, and then they start talking about intelligent plasmas and stuff like that, like my friend Massimo Terrani started talking about years ago, decades ago. But now they're just discovering it and saying, oh my God, have you seen this? It's like, yeah, we saw it a long time ago. You're just coming onto it now. And the funny thing is, they're having the same reaction that people at UFO conferences used to have when they have these congressional hearings. When I saw the first one, I said, this is a UFO conference for Congress. That's what it is. And also, it's not for us. It's not for the public. I mean, it kind of is. I think the main thing those congressional hearings were for, especially the first few, was for adversaries and enemies to watch.
Well, you know, as I said, they're weaponizing it, and the odd thing is, so I had mentioned nuts and bolts before because there is quite certainly a nuts and bolts aspect to this. So we're talking about spaceships, or we're talking about anti-gravity, or we're talking about propulsion. So any of these things that are, it's very specifically a technology. We're not talking about, as I had mentioned, the feeling that I'm being, the information is getting downloaded into me. That's different than, there's a spaceship at S4 right now. We need to see it, that type of a thing. So that disclosure is slightly different, and the feeling about it elicits different thoughts, different feelings than just, are they gray? Are they tall whites? All of these other things that are also nuts and bolts, but they become different. It's sort of like a hierarchy of nuts and bolts until finally we get into the totally spiritual, totally phenomena. Can't explain it at all. It just happens. The nuts and bolts is easily weaponized. And they've got us so confused right now that people see stuff, they see stuff at atomic facilities. They've been seeing it for how many years? Is it true or is it not true? I don't know. If it's true, is it in a hangar? Do we even have hangars? Is that true? What are we even talking about now? Are we talking about technology that's basically all ours, that we've always been since World War II and the Manhattan Project kept secret, and we just keep it secret because no, we don't want everyone to know what we're doing. Oh, we've got biological weapons, and this is what you should be looking for because they're in this type of a plane, in this kind of a container, and it's basically in this place. That they're all there. We don't want this information out, so we'll turn it into whatever else we could turn it into. So people instead are talking about big plane, big quadrilateral things in the sky that block the stars out, that have no sound, that take off at a right angle. Instead of talking about the biological weapons that we do have, we are not talking about these other things. That's when it's weaponized.
Yeah, partially.
That's the nuts and bolts that gets weaponized.
Yeah, I think more ideas and rumors and beliefs are I don't know if I like the word weaponized, but it makes sense. I mean, it's funny because it puts it into a category, and I'm trying to pull out of that category. But definitely that happens. And some of those things I think are technology that we have, and some are things that we don't know and can't explain. But if they put them all in one, if it's put all in one basket, then people only think about it in that way.
Well, that's the interesting thing for me is that we've got things that we've made. So, we made an atomic bomb. Okay, we did that. Some people might say, no, aliens gave us the technology. Okay, let's not go that route just yet. We have an atomic bomb. At one point,
if you want to ignore the actual history of the atomic bomb, yeah, you can say that. It's not like the aliens gave us transistors. There's a really specific reason why we have transistors, and it's actually completely publicly available, and you can see it. Doesn't mean aliens gave it to us. Some guys at Bell Labs invented it in like the 40s.
Right.
Well, that was right during Roswell. It's like, well, maybe, if you want to believe
Exactly. I mean, the point is that we have technology. We invented the wheel. Oh, okay, aliens gave us that. All right, fine. We invented these things. We discovered fire. Humans did all these things. And so we have, like, Greek fire. Can we talk about Greek fire for a minute? So during the Byzantine Wars, they had something called Greek fire. Now, this was a weapon, a secret weapon. They didn't tell everybody how to make it. And so they were able to win a war by throwing Greek fire on the opposing armies and burning them to death. When the enemy finally discovered what that was and they started to use it, the technology needed to move on. But in the meantime, Greek fire was this big secret technology. It was a UFO in a hangar, really secret. No one knew about it, and they didn't want to tell anybody about it because it's our secret weapon. So yes, there's some technology, wholly human, in a hangar somewhere that they fly around every once in a while. People see it, and then they begin to tell stories about it. Yes, that's where, you can say which came first, the chicken or the egg. That's where you see the technology itself creating mythology around it. I get that. That makes sense. But is it the other way around? The Lazar story where it's not just our technology, but there's some shit that we have, that we're re-engineering from, another place somehow. That's when it goes from being nuts and bolts here to nuts and bolts the other, where the story just begins to blur, where I sit down and I say, I thought I knew the chicken and the egg, but now I really don't know which is first.
Does that matter?
Exactly. And I can end the day by saying that I'm just interested in this, and it doesn't matter. I don't need to believe. Today I believe, tomorrow maybe I'll believe less, and the next day I'll believe twice as much. I don't have to feel that I'm with or against, but some people need that.
Well, if they're going to be interested in UFOs, they better stop feeling that way, because they're just going to be drawn to one place or the other by what people tell them and their emotions. And that if you do that,
frustrating for people.
Yeah, you close yourself off to information if you've got a. I constantly trying to figure out if my belief system is keeping me from some kind of information that might be useful at some point, and I don't want to filter it out. There's so much. I mean, people write me, have you seen this video? It's like, I don't care about another video of something that you can't tell what it is. It proves that occasionally people see and record things that are unknown. So what? We already know that. The question for me is, how does it affect people, and what does that tell us about the source of whatever it is? And I'm saying the source. I'm not saying what kind of aliens or whatever. It's not human, and it's intelligent, and it's aware of itself and us. I mean, I think that's what's about the most you can say about it right now. I mean, that's the most I can say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else, falls where it may. Actually, if I throw that wide net, sometimes I catch an interesting fish. So, like I said, it's the idea of, has something been weaponized or not, or should we believe this or not, or just that binary. I got off that train a while ago. I mean, it's still there. It has to be. I mean, that's the way we are. It's a survival mechanism. But
isn't that like the definition of being a Gnostic? Like you just keep searching for that knowledge.
Yeah, but it's not even a search. It's just kind of like, I'm interested, and it's not, because searching means you have a goal. My only goal is understanding for myself, some sort of understanding, not an answer, not a this is true and this is not, but what do I understand about this, and how is it important to me, and how is it important to my friends and I, and then maybe how is it important to others if I choose to talk about it in a certain way. Other than that, I mean, it's because I'm constantly being bombarded with, like I said, have you seen this? Did you hear about this? And sometimes I'll say, yeah. Other times I'll say, no, I'll take a look at it. And other times I'll say, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And I don't. But it just has to be, something that after looking at this for so long, I know what interests me and I know what doesn't. And it doesn't mean it's what I'm interested in is more important than other people's interests. It's fine. It just means that I have a certain thing to bring to the table if I choose to. and other people do as well. And, you know, in the middle of that is some kind of peace or understanding with it, not
Peace.
I finally found out and this is the answer, because for something like this, it's so indeterminate. If you think you found the answer, you're wrong, or you've only got part of it. Anytime somebody says I figured it out, I automatically don't want to listen to them. Because
You know,
they will tell me 1 degree of the 360 degrees, and they think that's what it is. It's like, no, you're missing the entire rest of the spectrum.
it reminds me of Socrates, and we don't really know a lot about Socrates because he didn't write anything down, but he just would question everything, and he wasn't questioning it. Yes, he was questioning it to come to some sort of an answer, but I think that he realized the rhetorical value of the process, and that was possibly why they did away with him, because in the end, there wasn't an answer. It was sort of like, and Tuesday, we came to the conclusion X. And then on Wednesday, we had the same conversation and it went somewhere else. Equally correct. And that is no way to run a government. You cannot have, there are no answers. There are no questions. Let's just chat.
Yeah.
You cannot run Athens on that. And for him to teach the youth that, I mean, you know, basically they asked him to stop doing it. And he said, no, I can't. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm sorry. You know, you can't deal with it. That's fine. I'm at peace. And one of the things that Socrates didn't do was catalog everything. Plato had to do that for him. He had no writings. And I think to myself, that's, you know, mystically, that is the understanding that I can't define this thing. Because on Tuesday, I'm going to define it as this. And on Wednesday, it completely confounds that definition and keeps going and going and going. It's more or less the wonder in talking about it and allowing yourself to hear it. I recently rewatched the movie Phenomena because I happen to like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a movie with John Travolta.
Yeah, I know about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, you can explain it on any level, but you know, on the nuts and bolts level, he ends up with a very rare disease, a brain tumor that is growing on his brain, and that appears to be firing off his brain in odd ways, where he becomes able to read books quickly, learn languages, think about things in various ways. And you watch him look up in the sky and he sees an orchard or a colony of large tall trees, and they're swaying in the breeze, and he starts to sway in the breeze with them. And immediately I'm thinking to myself, the point is that we're filtering all this information out because it has no meaning to us. We don't need to understand why the trees are swaying other than, oh, guess what? It's windy out. Oh, okay, put a sweater on. That's it for us. We don't need any more information. But if you strip away, perhaps maybe there is a need to know and understand more. If you're interested, maybe you'll be able to hear it. Maybe you won't. That doesn't mean the trees are talking to you, but it does mean they're talking to you because they are. They're talking to us all the time. We're not listening. Is that amazing? Have I found anything? You know, somebody will say to me on Tuesday, oh, you discovered the trees talk, and on Wednesday, yeah, that's not true, Joy. Trees don't talk because, okay, Thursday we'll discover the actual mechanism that makes them talk and how they talk. The point being, we have a filter in our brain that we use. Otherwise, the world is just too damn noisy. We'd never be able to get through the day because we'd be walking into dust clouds and we'd be able to say, I can't see anything. It's dusty in here. We have to filter out the dust to see.
Yeah,
If
that's
you've ever,
your own discernment filters that. I don't care about
Exactly.
I don't care about other people's discernment. All I care about is my own.
right.
That's all I can control. That's the only thing that makes a difference to me. And if I can interface with other people that are along the same lines or on a completely different line that totally makes sense or is interesting to me, I'll follow that too. I didn't think for the longest time when I read Communion and Intruders and Missing Time, I just thought, well, these people are experiencing something. I don't know where it comes from. I'm not even sure if it's a real thing. Maybe it's some kind of, mass hallucination about something. Not even a hallucination. That's a bad word for it, but there's something going on, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'm not exactly sure that these people are describing exactly what happened to them, or they even remember. And then after hearing this for a long, long time, hearing from so many different people, I've decided there's an external source to this. Something is happening to people that doesn't come from them. It is intelligent. Um, I don't know what purpose it has, but that it took me a while of just listening to this and talking to people and considering, I guess you'd call it evidence, and also changing the way I thought about things. Like, is it true or is it not? I mean, that's not the question here, at least with contact. Might even be the whole thing. The point is to listen and see what comes out of that instead of just filtering and saying that person's full of crap, that person's not. I think you'll know if somebody's full of crap or not, because if you're interested, then they're not full of crap. And if you're not, maybe they are, or you missed something. Or maybe they are full of crap and they fooled you the first time or fooled themselves, who knows. But the thing is, I want to keep listening, and I want to see how people communicate this stuff, because that is my niche. It used to be the government stuff, and I guess people still want to ask me about that, obviously. But my niche now is, where does this come from and how does it affect people? And by looking at how it affects people, maybe I can swim upstream somewhere to some sort of awareness of where it's coming from, or at least the nature of what it is. Because like I said, it seems like I have another T-shirt I used to sell called, it said the UFO is a Rorschach blot, and there was a picture of a UFO on it, which it totally is. I said that at the beginning. You'll know somebody's entire political belief system, their spiritual belief system, the general, if you just talk to them about UFOs for 5 minutes, because it just attracts so many people for so many different reasons. And you have to be aware of that. And also I said not be binary about it, because if you start thinking that way, you've shut off probably 95% of information that's going to come to you. And yeah, then you really have to start filtering.
Yeah, I because I started, actually, oddly enough, I think for the very first time, I saw Diana Pasulka on Joe Rogan for the first time.
Yeah.
And she put words on something that I felt inside.
That's how I felt when I read her first book. I was crying when I read the book, because she would say something I was thinking on the next page.
Right. And I thought to myself, oh, I didn't make this up. It's a thing. This is a thing. And somebody else has recognized it. So, okay, good. Phew. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
And as she talked more, that's when I started putting a face on this phenomenon. I said, okay, you know what? Ancient aliens, okay, it's a wacky do, and it's a TV show. But because I was interested in watching it in those days, and I watched it for a number of years. I'm beginning to understand where that comes from. So there's, a bit of truth in that. Wherever it is, I get the truth out of it. And I'm not saying, again, that, aliens made us who we are, but the other made us who we are, so I can deal with that, and we don't know what the other is, so I can deal with that. I don't need you to tell me they come from Alpha Centauri or, Vita Reticuli.
Or we made them who they are as well.
Right.
There's an exchange there. It's not totally from us, and it's not totally from the other, whatever that other thing is. Whatever we think it is somewhere in the middle of that interaction.
Right. There's something there, and I don't need to know what it is. I just need to know there's something. And if I learn a little bit each day about it, what I learn doesn't make me smarter. I like at peace. I get more peaceful because I say to myself, it's okay that I don't totally understand. I don't need to put a word on it, but I
Yeah.
do need to understand that I'm not crazy, that I'm thinking these things. That's where the tribe is important. Not so much this tribe believes in red and this tribe believes in blue, but this tribe believes or is trying to understand. And what they believe in is that acceptance in trying to believe it and trying to understand it. Doesn't necessarily say that it's this, but just says it is. It's not ontological shock. It's just ontology. It is. Leave it at that. I can live that. I can live like that. And I do see a lot of frustration out there with people having troubles trying to pin it down. And it won't be pinned down. It can't be pinned down. And I think it's because, at least this is my definition of why it can't be pinned down, is because it's out there in the unfilterable. And as we try, it's out there in the filtered, not in the unfiltered. So it's out there. We filtered it out. It's out there. And as individuals begin to filter it in, like you said, it's going to be different things for different people. It's all the same thing, but because I think along the lines of animals, I'm going to see an owl and the owl's going to talk to me. Someone else is going to see a nuts and bolt aircraft in the sky. Somewhere in between is what's happening. And it's all out there waiting to be filtered in. And it takes humanity at the very edge of sanity. We go right to the edge of sanity.
Yeah. As soon as you want somebody else to believe what you believe or completely accept what you're going to say, you're lost at that point. Because then it becomes just a belief. I know that people have had experiences and they say, you've got to believe me. And the first thing I tell them is like, look, I believe you had a really weird experience, something happened to you, but you shouldn't care if the next person doesn't. You found one person that agrees with you or that will listen to you. I think that's enough. And because I've seen people that are trying to validate their experience. Just tell me that I'm not crazy. Tell me I'm not lying. It's like, I don't think you're crazy or lying. Who cares if other people think that? But it's like it's this human need. It's like, okay, I had something that pretty much changed my life and I want to explain it to you, but I can't exactly. I only got a certain way to explain it because it's the culture is giving me a certain way to explain it.
Right.
And it doesn't quite fit what the culture is supposed to be believing or not believing or whatever. There's a space for it, but it's not a respectable space. I mean, it used to be, it's becoming more so, but it used to not be very respectable. There's parts of it that are still not respectable at all, meaning people won't accept it right away. But whether you're a researcher or somebody who's experienced something or whatever, having a need for somebody else to believe or agree with you, I think, is the death of your efforts to be okay with something, and also your efforts to find an answer if you want one, because it's very, like I said, it's very personal. So, I mean, that's why I said at the beginning that the archery thing, whether you hit the target or not, should have the exact same feeling, which is no feeling at all about it. And not just because you're dead inside or whatever. It's just because as soon as I make a connection to something that I think should be happening or should not be happening, then I'm missing how I got there. How did I get here? Why do I think this way? Which is just as important as whatever your opinion is. Why do you come to that opinion? What are you missing? And with this, most people are, well, actually most of life, but with this, most people are missing a lot. But they do have their own experience, and I think if they have had one. I think that if you have to have a belief, your belief is this is what happened to me, and that's it. No acceptance, no denial from anybody makes any difference to you, unless it's somebody else that's had the same experience to validate and make you feel better. I've got this idea about myself too, Joy. I people tell me, does this make you scared? Does it not? Does it bother you? It's like, if something scares me, I choose to believe in the thing that doesn't scare me or makes me more powerful or makes me feel better. I choose to believe in that thing, even if I might be wrong, just to save my sanity. Because I went through a period where I was so paranoid I almost couldn't function. And finally I made a decision. I was like, I don't like feeling this way. And I'm going to have to start filtering, like you said, stuff that I don't, that bothers me just for the sake of my own mental well-being. So I'm still like that now. I mean, if something really bothers me or is making me afraid or unsure or whatever, I either don't believe in that anymore, or I just kind of train myself not to care very much. Because the main thing is to keep your wits about you and to be curious and to be happy and to be, probably the most important thing is to be happy. But anything that pushes towards that, I think, should be what's important too. And anything that makes you less powerful, less in control, less at peace, those things should be de-emphasized or and not in a new age way where like we don't worry about bad stuff. Nothing bad ever happens. Yeah, tons of bad stuff happens. It's happening all the time. But if you can deal with it, categorize it, or come to some peace with it and move on, that saves your sanity and also clears you up for further work. So why not? I don't care if I'm wrong about a paranoia. What I care about is that it doesn't get its hooks in me.
This again, the phenomena itself just is so high, and then comes down to, I don't know, people in search of their identities. For today, people trying to understand who they are in a micro and a macro way. And it seems
and they're being told who they are constantly.
Right. And it seems
more
to
than
be
before.
So important, where they have to buy a book or get a consultant or get a coach or go to a school or apply themselves in this way. It's so important, where the wonder of it as it unfolds, that's not important. But and that's, again, it's the same phenomena. It really is. I hate to say it. I cannot identify as a political, as a human political agent. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I used to, but that was me learning about the political system and thinking I was over here, I was over here, I was over here. I'm not anywhere. I have some ideas about things, and they don't go into one camp. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think I'm registered as declined to state for that very reason.
Yeah, sometimes I agree.
Voted for every party at one time or another.
Every party. I don't know. Make it work. Please just make it work. So I don't have that. And then religious-wise, wow, I love the way the tradition. There's no better place, and people will argue with me all the time. For me, there's no better place than 12 o'clock at night, Christmas night, in a good old-fashioned Catholic church. It is powerful. It's ringing off the walls.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It is. Does that make me Catholic? No, I'm not Catholic. And people say, well, the churches. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just telling you how I feel in a Catholic church at 12 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Thank you. I'm just telling you. And there are lots of things like that where I can feel something, but I'm not attracted to the tribe. But I understand the tradition, the culture. I get it, full force. And I'm like, that's powerful, man. And that's what I call the miracle. Every day there are 50,000 miracles waiting to happen in your life. you've got to accept them all as they come. And they don't stop coming. They just keep coming because there are all of these little things. Oh, wow, I smelt a rose. Little miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just, say, oh, well, I gotta go. We say, that was really sweet. Where did that rose come from? Think about it, because those are the little things in life that are going to weigh you over to the next day. No, that doesn't make me a rose carrying, certified whatever. It merely makes me aware that happened during the day and it was a wonderful smell and I'll never forget it, and I relate it to my mother and whatever the hell it is. People need to accept those little miracles as they come. I smell popcorn. I think of, I think of every Disney movie I ever saw as a child. That's what popcorn does to me. It's okay. Right? And it includes Fantasia that scared the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I remember it all. I remember Dumbo. I remember every movie. Peter Pan, every single movie. And these are the things that people are attempting to fabricate for identity. And the point being is that they're happening while they're trying to fabricate them. So they have an abduction scenario. That's part of their fabric. It's very unusual. Everything that just happened to them in that narrative is totally theirs. Totally theirs. You don't necessarily need to share that. But you need to be able to come to terms with that. And that's not easy for people.
No, it's coming to terms with trauma. And that's why the most important thing is to get people to be okay with whatever it is. I mean, Vallée said this a long time ago, but building on that, for me, it means people should be okay with what happened to them. And that's the most important thing, not what kind of information you can get out of it, what goes into the database, to your organization or whatever it is. The first thing that should be important is this person okay? Is this person able to continue with their life in some way? Not what data can I get and run away. And if you do sit with people and get them to be able to talk about it, you'll probably get a lot of the information you need, or even maybe information that tells you that you're not asking the right questions. So, but I don't know why, but when you told me about going to the Catholic Church, actually, I do know why. About sitting with an experience and being open to it. I was in Mexico City, and I told a friend of mine I was going to the Virgin of Guadalupe Chapel, the one that has the shawl in it that supposedly has the Virgin of Guadalupe that all the Virgin of Guadalupe images are based on, that supposedly appeared there miraculously on this cloth of a Aztec member of the Aztec civilization who converted. But what my friend told me was that she was having problems with her children, like she didn't know how to take care of it, and she's Catholic. So I told her I was going there, and she said, "Will you do something for me? Will you pray to the Virgin of Guadalupe?" And I said, "I'm not Catholic. I'm not even religious particularly. I guess I'm spiritual, but not religious." This is what most people say in the United States anyway. But I said, okay. So I went to the church. I looked at the cloth. It's called a tilma. I looked at the cloth, and then I went and sat about 100 feet away from it. And I don't know any Catholic prayers, so I downloaded them off. I just got them on my phone. Prayer to the Virgin of Guadalupe for help or something like that. So I sat down and I stared at that image. And I sat down in an area of the church that was kind of like there weren't as many people there. And it's a big modern church. It's not like you think of a Catholic church with a nave and a transept and the whole thing. It wasn't shaped like a cross. It's round. It looks like a giant mushroom, actually, from the inside. It was built in the 50s, I think. It replaced an earlier church. Anyway, I sat down and looked at this thing, and I stared at it, and I over the next 10 or 15 minutes, I convinced myself that one, what I was doing was going to work. Two, that the Virgin of Guadalupe, whatever that might be, would hear me and answer the prayer and help my friend. And three, that if I didn't do it this way, it was not going to work. So what I had to do is completely 100% convince myself that I was a devotee of the Virgin of Guadalupe, at least for those 15 or 20 minutes. And it took me about 10 minutes to get into that state of mind where the entire church melted away, all the noise melted away, and all I was looking at was that image and saying, this image is a direct, I mean, this is kind of what, I guess, what a Catholic, this image is directly, it's my telephone to the Virgin of Guadalupe. And she's going to hear. Anyway, so when I got to the point where I had erased all doubt in my mind, where I was absolutely 100% believing what I was doing, I took out my phone, I read the prayer and inserted my friend's name and her kid's name in there. And then she told me beforehand, she goes, I know you're having problems with your mother being sick and all that. Maybe you should say something about that. And I said, I thought this was for you. And she said, she's a powerful goddess. Just do it. You can ask for whatever you want. So I did that too. Then it took me another 5 or 10 minutes just to get out of that state of mind. It was like I was in a trance. And I didn't chant or do anything like that. I just concentrated and removed all doubt from my head, from my consciousness, from my thoughts. Did the prayer, and I came home, and she called me later, and she said, did you do it? I said, oh, yeah, I did. And I said, did it help? And she said, I think it did. Now, I don't know whether it did or not, and I don't know whether it helped with my mother or not. Maybe it made things less, who knows? But the point was, if it was effective, I had to remove all my doubts just to get the signal through, whatever that might be. And I might not just be making a wish. It might not be that mechanistic. I'm asking the Virgin of Guadalupe and she's going to help me out. I mean, that's the idea. That's how you would normally interact with something. You have to interact with something that looks human or, But like I said, I think it only had a chance to work, if you believe it worked, if I removed all doubt. I could just offhandedly say, hey, could you help my friend out, and leave the church. I actually had to sit there, experience it, and put myself in a devotee believer's mindset, which, like I said, it took me about 10 or 15 minutes or so to get into that state where that's all I was thinking of, and I had no doubt. And then all my doubts and all that stuff and all my filters came back afterwards, which was fine. But I think when somebody has an extraordinary experience, they're forced into that immediately. They kind of either I have to accept this or I don't accept it, but there's no way to not accept it because it's right in front of me. And so what do you do after that? You're a permanent believer. You're permanently changed, or you at least believe that there's something more than you previously thought. And that's the big problem, I think, is when people have that worldview change, what people like to say ontological shock. It's a big phrase right now. I didn't used to hear it very much, but it went viral, I think. But just that shock of realizing that there's more than you thought. And what you thought might not be built on the foundation you thought it was. That happens. And I think that to ramble some more, the reason I was interested in the art part of this was I thought, what changes somebody's life in a few minutes like a UFO does? What changes their worldview, or at least how they think about things or where they're going in life or whatever, as much as a close encounter sometimes does? Well, the only thing I could think of was art, like a movie or a TV show or a poem or a painting or whatever, something that's not communicating to you 100% in language, but it's communicating to you in visuals and sounds and all that, music, any of those things. Those things change people's lives and attitudes on a level that's not verbal, that almost can't be explained. But that's why I moved towards the art, because, if art does the same thing that UFOs does, there might be a really important connection there. And so, I mean, for my filtering right now, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm writing about. That's the event that I had. And it just felt like I'm supposed to go in this direction. It wasn't something where I thought, I'm going to do this now. I just got kind of pulled into it. So I figured that's what I should be doing right now.
Right. It is interesting because you can tell somebody something and sit in a room of 100 people, tell them all something.
Mm-hmm.
One person totally changes their life. A few people have a nice evening.
Yeah.
Other people walk away from it and now they have stories they could tell other people. It hasn't really impacted them, but now they could say they were at this meeting and they talked to some people.
Yeah.
And the rest of people goes way over their head. Nothing, they forget it the day after. So the word itself can be like art. It can be, but it's harder because communication is more or less like a table, and everybody gets an idea of a table. Maybe they're thinking of their kitchen table, but everybody's thinking about a kitchen table. So we know what we're talking about, as opposed to saying a god, and now everybody's out there. Nobody's got the same story. Some people have, we've all got different things.
You can't call up God
on
on demand. You can call up a table on demand.
Yes.
But you can't call up a deity on demand. Well, I guess some people think they can, but it doesn't happen by accident. If it does happen by accident, somebody's life has changed, or at least an accident to them. I think it's our rules of, of evidence. Whereas we need something that makes sense in a nuts and bolts way, or at least logically. That's not going to happen all the time with this. But, if you're living on whatever that's Sentinel Island off of India, where those people will kill anybody that comes near them, which I think is wonderful. Right. Their idea about what is, like I said before, their idea about what's logical, acceptable, and whatever is not. It's certainly not the same as ours, and it's just as valid, I think, for them. And ultimately, I wouldn't put a value judgment on their belief system. I had a guy I was discussing something at the Archives of the Impossible conference with this guy who's like a very hardened skeptic. He writes about it a lot. And we started talking. He said, well, do you believe the Navajo creation myth? And I said, I believe that it is true for the Navajo, but might not be true for me. And I don't know what in between that, what's true. And he said, well, science has proven that all that's BS. I mean, it's just, they can believe what they want. And I said, that is one of the rudest things I've ever heard. You're absolutely throwing away another culture's complete belief system because you think yours is better than theirs. And you might be right, but you're an asshole.
And again, they're missing the narrative. And here's the thing. Again, I'm going to go back to it. We've got the nuts and bolts thing, which is the table, right? And then we've got this other thing out there, where we can't even put into words. God, I don't know, alien, extraterrestrial, ghost, I don't know. You've got all these other things going on. And there are a million words. We still haven't even expressed half the words that express the other. Chimera, I don't know. All of these other things. Sphinx. What is it? The riddle.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in the way humans think about the nuts and bolts and then all of the other. Now we can we get the table. We all need a table to put our kitchen utensils on, to sit around, to eat breakfast. We understand the table. Yeah. We don't have the faintest idea why is God? Who is God? Why do we need God? Why does God need us? Where did this come from? And why does it keep going? And why is it today we're calling it UFOs? And it's the same religion in a different place and time. And it's become a religion.
Yeah.
Right? It's become Um,
beliefs with
I
this are
believe,
not should be disposable on demand.
or at least, we should be, we should, I like the concept of humility. You know, that the
Yeah.
Navajo has this story about creation is as good or bad as uh, the Hebrew story of creation, or the Greek story of creation,
Yeah, they
or
all
the
have part of the
Torah
elephant, I
story.
guess. Yeah.
Right? They're all these stories. They're all good. They're all good. There's a narrative there. There's something to be. There's so much in that narrative that tells you all about the people.
Yeah.
You can't throw it away because you throw the
Why
baby out
can't
with the
both
bathwater.
be equally valid? In other
And
words.
exactly. And then when you start lining up all these creation stories, then you begin to see the similarities. Then you begin to see, oh, I get it. It's that filter thing. We're all attempting to understand it out there, and we're all filtering it in different languages. But it's
Yeah.
this, it's the same story over and over again. Over
Yeah.
and over again.
And yeah, and what will you accept? And I think it's all being moved through a human consciousness, so no wonder there's the similarities. I mean, we all have the same sensory apparatus. We probably all come from fairly common ancestors, so and our DNA is pretty close. Why would we not? Why would our creation stories not be similar in a lot of ways? And that's to me that's a that's not a question. But the as you were talking about this, I was thinking of that we I've lost my train of thought. Um,
It happens.
we all see things from different points of view, and getting back to the UFO thing, we're all human. We all are experiencing something weird. We just all have completely different reactions to it. But it's all coming from I think it's all coming from the same place. And some cultures are okay with it, and people are okay with it, and others are not. It doesn't. There's gaps to fill in the Western materialistic view of things in this, and I don't think there will ever be filled. Not till we think about things in a different way. Maybe if the entire society, for some reason, or at least people that told us what to believe, would just accept that it's real, but not really explain it. That could change. But the thing is, people don't like that. They like being told what to believe and what to think, and because it's work to find out these things. I'm not saying people are lazy, but I'm lazy. I know I am.
Well, like you said, you don't want to live in fear. So if they're, if
I can live with uncertainty, just not with fear that impinges on my life.
if you're the type of person that requires a set of answers to the questions so that you don't live in fear, then that's why you need a group of people or a
Yeah,
society or a specific culture that tells you X, Y, and Z very specifically. And you're like, good, X, Y, and Z. Whoo, I knew there had to be an answer. I'm glad it's X, Y, and Z. As
yeah,
opposed to, there ain't no answer. I'm going to have to go into this completely unarmed and be able to resourcefully get out of the jungle myself. There's going to be snakes in the jungle. There's going to be lions and tigers and bears in the jungle. Every time I turn the corner, there's going to be a scorpion to bite me. I'm going to have to figure this out myself. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody
yeah,
wants to know the answers, which
yeah.
basically don't go to
they
the
want to
jungle.
hire a guide.
Right. So, I really do understand why people feel that they need to have the identity so that they're comfortable. I'm good with, I don't know what's going on. I'm good with that.
Yeah,
It's not a comfortable place. It's sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's like eyes open. Okay, pick up a book because I can't go to sleep because I'm not comfortable saying, I don't know what's going on. I don't have the answer. Anything can happen at any point in time. I'm uncomfortable. Oh, I read a book and I read a book and I'm okay. Get my focus on something else. I can do this. Other people can't.
yeah,
And it's just, this is in my toolbox and how I do it. That doesn't mean everybody else is going to do it that way. So,
Yeah.
some people knit, whatever they do, they do. I just, it's funny because these days, what I'm hearing and what sometimes I go there and I have to put myself back. And I even think that Richard Dolan did it recently. We're all talking about what are they doing and are they ramping it up? They,
Yeah.
the others, those
They,
people,
yes.
them, I don't know. Are they ramping it up? And it gets dark really quickly. I mean, very
Yeah.
quickly, because you think, oh, they want something. They want our planet for something. Right? They're going to
Yeah.
eat us. They're going to eat the planet. They want gold. What do they want? And that's when I have to say, listen, I get that you, at some points in time, again, that's the nuts and bolts thing where you try to logically get the answer, what's going on. And I have to really pull myself back and say, stop that.
Yeah.
It doesn't even
Stop
matter,
making sense.
honestly. If they're going to come and take the whole planet over, if they've got spacecraft and they've just traveled a quadrillion miles in light speed, gotten here with with biological units or whatever. I mean, really, if it's all the way out there, if you're going to nuts and bolts it to death and say they're so technologically advanced, then we don't have any hope of answering the question at all. We're going to have to let it play out. What are we going to do? Infect it like War of the Worlds? Hope they get a virus from the planet Earth and just die? Like, that's not the place to go. But a lot of people are going there. They're trying to figure it out, nuts and bolts.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say to people except to just stop worrying about it because it doesn't affect your life in a very important way, and it never will. Almost assuredly, it never will, because if somebody was going to take over, they'd have done it already. It's not that's not the point. I think the point, I almost want to go back to Whitley Strieber, and his point is, they're interacting with us because they need something from us, and because that we have something that they don't, and not because they want to take it from us. They want to understand what it is. Because one of his ideas is, they live forever, so they've lost meaning to life, and we still have whatever we think of as our meaning of life and our passion for it, and they're trying to figure out what that is. And then my friend Barbara Fisher said this. She was in the art exhibit. One time I was talking to her, and she said, maybe we're their art. They're trying to understand themselves just by manipulating what we do or seeing how we react or whatever it is. Who knows? I mean, that's as much speculation as are they going to invade or not. But it's more interesting to me, and it makes me happy to speculate on that.
It settles me by saying that if there is another, if there's a nuts and bolts other, and I mean like, another civilization, I don't even want to use that term, beings, whatever, something else in existence, some other thing. And if it has the ability to think things through, it's going to have a different perspective. And because I like science fiction, and I've read science fiction, a book that I'm very bad with naming books. Thank goodness I remember the author. So Adrian Tchaikovsky wrote a book about
I think I know what you're talking about.
He goes, there's another planet, and they go to the planet, and they're basically trapped because they've had a technological problem with their spaceship, so they're trapped on this island, on this planet, or it's not even a planet. It might be a smaller planetoid. And what's happening is that the planet has a sentient being it doesn't necessarily say it's silicon, but it's built on a different molecular level than we are. And it has no way of communicating with us. Absolutely no way. Doesn't have fingers, doesn't have a body, has no way of communicating. And it can't even begin to start to take words and understand them, because in its life, a table has no need, No meaning, it can't say, oh, those are their tables. Doesn't need a table. Doesn't even know what a table is. So it's searching to find things. And it does it, I think, through knocking, but by mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a knocking noise. The humans hear the knocking noise, and now they're trying to communicate. And essentially,
sounds like ghosts.
yeah, really. Essentially, it is an energy-based existence,
Yeah.
where the death of one of the heroes in the book connects them.
Yeah.
Because the energy, right? And that's, a long story short, narrative basically meaning there are things out there that don't communicate the way we do. So those others that are coming to this planet where we think, what do they need? Need? They don't have a word for need. They're not on that level. It's not that same way. And what they may need, like this odd energy thing, it didn't eat. It didn't need. It's time for existence. So we're thinking along our lines of what they need and how they relate to each other. It's all along our lines. It's weirder than we can possibly imagine. Weirder than we can imagine.
Yeah.
And if you can leave it at that, scary, weird. Okay, some things are scary. Yes, some things are scary. But scary as in horror movie scary? No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't take yourself to the horror movie. That's not the scariness level of it.
Right.
It's just weird. Weird. Imagine, I started by talking about Lucy, about my dog, and I do say I have conversations with non-human intelligence all the time. And if you think the way they hear, they smell dogs specifically, that their world is so totally different based upon those senses.
Yeah.
And if you can just put yourself in that situation over the weekend, 4th of July, I kept thinking to myself, the firecracker's going to drive them crazy. It didn't occur to me that the Blue Angels flying over would be even worse.
Yeah.
When those planes began to rattle, after they came over a few times, they recognized the frequency, and I could tell that they knew the difference between the helicopter that was flying over, the commercial aircraft, and a Blue Angel 100 miles away, starting its engine and starting to fly over. They knew the difference. As soon as they experienced it, they knew the difference. And that's because their senses are totally different aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're hearing this along the lines of a horror movie, that's a horror movie to them. That frequency becomes painful, becomes too much for them. She was hiding underneath the table. They did nothing. The fireworks do nothing to animals. It's the frequency. It's that the frequency doesn't hurt their ears. What, I don't know what it does. Does it bring pictures of the end of the world to them? But they began to know it. So along the lines of animals knowing about earthquakes and things like that.
Well,
Once
they don't have any control over them. Yeah.
Once they recognize it and they can remember it, because they do have memories different from ours, but they're cataloging it. And when they hear it again, they're going to know it. They're going to know it.
Yeah.
And so I was able to learn this over the weekend without them telling me anything. What did I do? I just recognized the fact that after the first few times the Blue Angels flew over, that when I began to hear the noise, they heard the noise also. And it was a few miles away, and I'm like, oh, this is going to get really loud any minute now. And as it begins to build, she's going underneath the furniture. And not a regular plane. Not every time they hear a plane, just the Blue Angels.
Well, it's a
And
big loud
fortunately,
thing that
no-
they don't know where it's coming from, and they don't have any control over it. Kind of like us with UFOs.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's really the way we, and they're not walking around traumatized from it. However, they don't like it when they hear it. They're able to compartmentalize it. Humans create narratives and stories, and we like to share stuff. So we're doing a whole culture thing to it. Now, whether a dog can tell another dog about the noise, both dogs in the house react to it differently. Yeah. They went to separate places. One clawed me to death, and the other one went under the furniture. Both reacted to the same thing.
Yeah. Individual reactions to the same thing. Just like I was trying to figure out with people and their experiences. Always a different reaction to the same thing. They both know it's the same thing, but they don't react the same way. And they probably have different memories of it. Exactly.
And if they had a mouth and could talk, that it would be that one would say it smells like roses, and the other ones would say it has no smell at all.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? We could go in circles, Greg, for like 5 more hours. The point being is that there is no answer. There's almost no question.
Well, I think there is an answer, but the thing is, if you look for it, it's going to run away from you. So I think if you get an answer to this mystery, it's going to come as a revelation. It's going to come obliquely. It's going to come when you don't expect it. Kind of like an inspiration. It'll come as an inspiration when you finally have at least an idea of what you think it is. It's not, I don't think it's a deductive process. I think it's an inductive process.
Mm.
And you can't tell somebody how to do it, how to figure this out. If they haven't experienced it, they've got to figure it out, or it's figured out very quickly. But if they don't, then it takes a while, and since it's not an experience that everybody has, it's not that important to most people. I mean, it's important as an intellectual exercise for a lot of people, but for most people, unless it impacts their lives directly, it really doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
And that's fine. They don't have to care about it. It doesn't affect them. But the people it does affect, yeah, they need to know how to come to peace with it.
Right. And I do believe there is a tangible and an intangible part of this phenomena that has a kabillion nexus, depending on the technology, the nuts and bolts that we're talking about. So are we talking about beings? Or are we talking about flying things? Are we talking about technology? There are those nuts and bolts things out there. Just like there are humans on this planet. There are nuts and bolts on this planet. It's not all just stuff, ephemeral stuff floating around. There's things.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is things. There are those nuts and bolts. But there's also this wordless spiritual thing. No, I'm not even spiritual. I don't even want to put that label on it. This infinite capacity of something that it could be almost anything at any point in time. It keeps going, doesn't stop. It's infinite. And that's possibly why we can't explain it or understand it, because who can understand infinity? But it keeps going, keeps changing, and it's always the same. Go figure. That's not a definition. That doesn't help anybody. So there's two things going on at the same time, and people are trying to group them together, the UFO with the UAP, and it's not the same. Although it is the same, because there is that nexus where the two circles meet. where the UFO meets this ephemeral thing.
Unidentified anomalous phenomenon or aerial phenomenon. I don't know which they're using.
I'll take
But
the
if it's
anomalous.
aerial, yeah.
Right. If it's aerial,
It basically means UFO.
UFO.
I think they meant anomalous for everything.
I tend to like the anomalous meets the flying object.
Yeah.
And there's two things.
When they say UAP, everybody knows they mean UFOs. That's just the way it is. I think that people that came up with that acronym realize that. People are just going to think UFOs if we say UAP.
UAP.
Yeah.
But I tend to think that the entire world gang banged onto the UAP.
Well, because that's where they came in on it in 2017. They didn't care about it before, and now suddenly, I've seen people. I've been looking at this seriously since 1988. I'm not seriously like I'm a big important researcher. I'm looking at serious, but I've been interested since then. And then I see people come in 2017, and they've got their own ideas about it, and they seem to be mediated by what is being released in the news, not by reading up on it, not by talking to people, not by the thing that comes with being interested in something or into something or studying something for years and decades. And so I'll see people saying, "Oh my God, did you realize this?" It's like, yes, me and my friends have been talking about this for like 20 years, but it's not their fault. The problem is when they think that's all there is, and it's like, did you realize this? It's like, yeah, Alan Hynek realized that in 1976 or 1968 or whatever. It's been gone over. But the problem is when somebody tries to dictate what they think or what they think is going on to you, and they haven't done any of the research, and they're going over stuff that's already been written about and talked about, and people have moved on from it, and they're just discovering it and thinking it's the most important thing in the world, and that's a natural reaction. But trying to make other people think that agree with you or whatever based on 4 years of being exposed to this, I don't think it's useful. Not that anything I have to say is more important, actually, but just that my attitude is like, look, if you want to listen to me, fine. If not, I don't care.
Yeah. Somewhere after reading a little bit of Carl Jung, after reading a little bit of Mac, I think to myself, oh, if these two guys were alive today, the stuff that they would, and put Vallée in the room with them, the stuff that they could come up with, because of their particular experiences. Jung experiencing it at the beginning of this New Age revolution concept. Mac experiencing it through this lens of hypnosis and trying to make it make sense along the lines of psychiatry. trying to do that for whatever reason, maybe failing to do that or maybe doing that, and having Vallée come in as a computer programmer who's solely talking about data and realizing, wait a minute, this whole story is beginning to look like a web of stories being told for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Having them in the same room, those three people in the same room, and just watching them talk with each other as a panel. It would be fascinating. It would be fascinating. Jung has to be there because he would be stubborn enough and he's way back enough to remember a few things we've forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Post New Age.
Yeah.
I'm
just pausing because I have a phone call in about 5 minutes.
Okay, that's good. We've talked a long time, right? Right, Lucy? Lucy's looking at me going, I'm hungry.
Whatever you're saying, at least you're talking to me.
Yes.
She knows your feelings. That doesn't matter, whatever it is you're saying.
Fortunately, something, I do have this relationship with my non-human intelligent animals here that really keeps me, oh, see, the other one comes in, really keeps me very humble. Yeah. And sets me back and says, you don't know what's going on. And this is why. And it's okay. It's okay. Just
Yeah.
keep asking questions and realizing that's not the right question, but keep going.
Yeah, you don't have to know why or what the explanation is, but the thing is, if you keep at it, you'll find your why or your explanation. And if you don't, who cares? At least you had some fun.
Exactly. And it is fun. It's like playing with mud. It's like playing
Yeah.
with mud.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. Before you go on your phone call, is there anything you want to tell my audience? Share maybe someplace you're going, something you've written, something you're doing, anything you want to let them know about yourself?
Not much, except for I'm writing something. My books are all on Amazon. If you look for my name and Greg Bishop, Project Beta will come up. Wake Up Down There will come up. UFOs Reframing the Debate will come up. It Defies Language will be there. There's a book I wrote on history of contactees with Adam Gorightly called A is for Adamski. That'll come up. Anyway, if you want to see what my main thinking on this, the thing that I really, if you want to know what my thought process has been for the last 20 or 30 years, you can get It Defies Language, because it's a book about something that can't be described in language using language.
There you go. And I really, that is really the core of it. It really is. We're trying to communicate something that has no words.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in the art.
Thanks so much for spending time with me.
No problem. I enjoyed it, and I got to pontificate a bit, which is I have to watch it. I have to watch it. I don't do that too much.
It's good to pontificate. That's not a dirty word, is it? No.
Well, Tom, pontificate means essentially means
I know.
think without thinking talk without thinking what other people are going to think.
As long as you don't pontificate with yourself.
No.
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
You too. Thank you so much.